Hey everyone, Tim Collect Jurassic. We're here with a huge Mattel Jurassic World toy unboxing. Tons of new Wave 2 figures hitting. If you've been following the channel, we've been reviewing toys basically non-stop since the spring because they just keep coming out, like this massive action Ampelosaurus Wave 2 massive action figure. We also have the full wave of massive action Roar Strikers. We got a Iguanodon, Liopleurodon, Xenoceratops, and Megaraptor. Really excited about Megaraptor and Iguanodon, so I'm looking forward to opening those today. But yeah, just tons of new figures to check out. So of course, I'll be doing unboxings, doing a bunch of comparisons with other Mattel figures. You know the drill. If you're a subscriber, you get it. And if you're not a subscriber, you should subscribe to me now because there's so much more Jurassic toy updates and reviews that I got planned, even after this awesome video with all these toys. So let's go ahead and jump right in with the massive well, you know what? Let's go ahead and start small. We'll go ahead and start with the Roar Strikers. We got Iguanodon right here. This is a all-new herbivore, a classic herbivore if you think about it, for dinosaurs that Mattel hasn't done yet. They're finally getting to it because this figure was actually, or the species rather, was actually in Dominion, and the figure, by all accounts, looks pretty faithful too. The box, of course, is that classic Dominion box with the Rex roaring, the cool helicopter background vibe, and then on the back we can see the other figures in the wave, as well as a render of how the Roar Striker action feature kind of works, right? So we'll go ahead and pop this one open. It looks like, how is this one secured? It looks like it's got plastic ties on the back leg, so we'll just get back there and cut them, hopefully without messing up the figure. All right, cool. That was one. Is there another one somewhere? It looks like maybe the feet might have plastic on the bottom. Yep, that's new. So you don't usually do that with these. Have the little plastic pieces that tie their feet in, but hey, whatever makes the toy secure, right? And then the tail for most of these is always disassembled too. So we'll go ahead and cut that out. And we can get this tail on and look at the whole figure assembled, right? So tail should literally just snap in however we see fit. It looks like it's going to go that way. Okay, so there it is, the Roar Striker Iguanodon from Mattel. Their first Iguanodon, definitely not their first kind of hadrosaur herbivore kind of deal, but this is based on its opinions in Dominion. Has the exact same coloration as the Dominion film Dinosaur 2. And I gotta say, I like this sculpt. It's really nice. I mean, the first thing I noticed right out of the box was those front legs. Look at like the hooves it has. I mean, that's really cool, right? Let me see if I can get the camera to focus on it. Yeah. There's a better close-up on those hooves. You can see there's like has that like signature thumb spike sculpted on each hoof, which is just really cool. I mean, there's really nice detail in this overall. I mean, getting in there, you can see all the different bumps and scales and all that stuff. Look at these big scales it has in the legs. So really nice detail. I mean, the paint is obviously a little bit on the lighter side, which I think the film design really doesn't have that much of like an exotic paint job, right? So just it literally has like this splash of dark color on the back with the stripes. Like all Roar Strikers this year, this kind of price point, the paint kind of stops above the legs and fades away, which, I'll continue to call Mattel out. They definitely need to paint the rest of the figure. Just because you don't see this part covered in the box doesn't mean that collectors and kids don't want paint on the full figure. So they really need to get back to painting the full thing, in my opinion. But that criticism aside, it's a really nicely sculpted figure. It does have the Roar Striker action, which you literally just press down the figure, and that's pretty cool. So no biting action with the Iguanodon. It's literally just kind of pulsing up and down. Interesting. It's got some like oil on it. That must be some sort of lubrication for the action feature, but it's getting on my hands. Anyway, articulation wise, it's got the legs that go back and forth. Even though they're tied to the action feature, you can still pose them independently, which is nice because that's not always the case on some toys. Sometimes you have to pose the legs kind of like together, but in this one you can make it run and all that. The front legs have a little more articulation in that they go front and back, but they also go out too, so it can it can fly. No, it can thumb and use its thumb spike to get another dinosaur too. And then of course the neck articulation is come on, It's a tied to the action feature. However, it does have a really nice swivel joint on the head, so you can look behind it and get trees and stuff like that. And look at the detail on the head too. Really, really cool. I should have captured that when we were talking about the detail before. You can tell that they used a film design for this because it's just scanned so expertly, or just kind of sculpted probably from a scan. That's why it looks so perfect. I like the dark eyes too. I always like when Mattel does dark eyes versus yellow eyes with dots on them. They just look way more like a real animal, like than compared to like this guy, for instance, with his big yellow eye. Nothing against the yellow eyes, they're fine, but these figures look more realistic with those darker eyes. Then want to do a quick comparison to some other herbivores. Let me grab one off camera here. I got Ampelosaurus, probably one of the closest comparisons we can make to Iguanodon. Both, you know, in that sort of hadrosaur family. We also have Parasaurolophus. Can't miss that one. So this is what Mattel's done so far in the main line for kind of this kind of dinosaur, right? Ampelosaurus, Parasaurolophus, and now we have Iguanodon. And Iguanodon, again, is kind of a classic dinosaur, so I'm surprised it took them so long to make a toy of it, but maybe they knew early on that Dominion was going to be coming and they were going to make a figure for that. So you can see he scales really nicely with all these. They're all the same size. And Ampelosaurus definitely has the most in common with that one. Very similar length and build. I mean, Ampelosaurus is a totally different sculpt. It's got this kind of weird bumpy ridge in the back, and this one just has, you know, more of like a typical body type. So it's kind of cool that we get all these different herbivores, hadrosaurs rather. I hope these are all hadrosaurs. I hope I'm not misidentifying scientifically what some of these dinosaurs are, but it's really cool that we get such a nice spectrum, and that they all look so different with different colors too. Another little comparison I wanted to make was to a smaller figure, Calovosaurus. Sorry, I just set Ampelosaurus down off camera. I got really angry. This is Calovosaurus. It was a attack pack dinosaur, very similar to Iguanodon. You can see it has like the same kind of hands, right? But I always thought this was like basically identical to an Iguanodon, just small. But now we have the full-size version too, so kind of cool. I love the coloration on this one, especially the different paint on the tail. This is back when they were really painting up these smaller figures really nicely, which I hope they get back to. So yeah, I mean, that's just a kind of another relevant comparison I thought with Calovosaurus. But Iguanodon's looking cool. I wish I could get him to like perch up on a tree and eat on it, you know. He's definitely meant to be on all fours, not so much on two legs, but a cool Dominion species nonetheless. But let's go ahead and get out a dinosaur that is not from Dominion. That is Lypluridon, right? An aquatic creature. I don't really know much about this one other than it's an aquatic dinosaur or aquatic reptile, not a dinosaur, right? There it is on the back with the render, all that good stuff. But let's go ahead and break Lypluridon out of the packaging. I just remembered that I didn't do the scan tag on the Iguanodon, so give me a bit and I will... We'll take a look at the scan tag on that dinosaur. I don't want to forget to do that. One more snip, and Lyp is free. At least his body is free. Tail is definitely not free. These toys are hard to get out, though. They don't make it easy, and they get harder, especially if they all have that feet tie that Iguanodon had. That's gonna make unboxing them on camera even harder. All right, let's go ahead and stick the tail into this guy. Looks like he has a plastic piece in him for electronics. So before we get into him, though, let's just rewind real quick back to Iguanodon. I did want to show this skin tag. It's on the behind the legs, on the base of the tail. Pull that up. Oops, wrong side. Pull that up. There's the Iguanodon skin tag. Pops back down. Pops out. Pretty simple, right? That is the Iguanodon scan tag. But Lypluridon has a scan tag on here somewhere. Oh, right here. So he's just pops out right there. Just so we don't forget, we'll look at it. We'll look at it first before we go into anything else but the figure. And it pushes back in, and it's really well hidden on this figure. I almost didn't see it at first. Let me get this one posed up, right? Let's get these really cool fins. Really big fins. Wow, those are huge. So this is Lypluridon, a aquatic reptile. Again, I love the dark color of the eye paint on this one just totally makes this figure really cool. More realistic, right? It looks more like a living creature. So really cool. Coloration-wise, I also just love the darker gray. Makes it feel like a whale or some other kind of modern aquatic creature. Sculpt is great. I already commented on those huge fins, but I love these big like nodule bumps it has like on the lower jaw. And they kind of are on top of on the sides of the neck and taper off throughout the body. They're almost like barnacles. You can see a couple on its tops of its fins too. Then the fins itself are like streaked with like, almost looks like scars or something. Kind of cool. Underside's painted really well. The tail has got a big giant, like almost like a shark tail almost. Really interesting shape. I'm guessing that's based on the fossil record. But yeah, I'm sure it's got a huge bite. Let's go ahead and a big button back here to press. So it kind of does this, pushes its head down and opens up. Nice bunch of teeth in there. Kind of like how the bottom teeth are all hidden. Really cool noises too. I mean, those are original. Sometimes they reuse some of the noises. Almost like a cow. That is cool. It reminds me of like a whale, doesn't it? Or like a orca or something. Really, really cool action feature. I think it's interesting that it kind of pushes its neck down. Almost like perpendicular with the body almost. Kind of interesting. But I guess they want to give it a little bit more motion than just opening and shutting its jaws. And this is sort of its neutral pose. And then the fins all have articulation, so you can do some really cool aquatic poses, which I really like that about the plesiosaur, is when you can kind of push these fins out to do different things. You can make them kind of alternate in swimming. So always cool to pose it, you know, with different swimming poses. Speaking of plesiosaur, we'll go ahead and do a little quick comparison to our other smaller aquatic reptile, plesiosaur. Really cool figure. I think there's 3 of these. This one's my personal favorite. Again, I just love the excuse me, I love the darker blue color. It reminds me of something we'd find in the ocean today. So we have these two. You can see just how much bigger Lypluridon is than Plesiosaurus, right? It's much bigger reptile. Hopefully they make an Elasmosaurus one day. That's a kind of a big plesiosaur, because Plesiosaurus itself is on the smaller side for sure. But we got a big old honkin' Lypluridon here. I'm not going to get Mosasaur in camera just because it's just too big. It's too big for... I don't have room to put it with all these other toys right now, but believe me that it's bigger than this one, obviously. But really cool Lypluridon. Probably my favorite surprise of this toy is those sounds. I love that long moan. Yeah, that one. So definitely the nice fins and paint coloration and sound make this a really cool dino. We're gonna pose him like this for the rest of the review. Let me see if I can get him. Yeah, look at that. What a cool, look at that. He's standing up just fine on his fins. Be a fun one to fit on the table. So there is Lypluridon. Now let's go ahead and look at, let's switch gears, look at Massive Action, Ampelosaurus, big old sauropod figure. This is Massive Action, so it's literally a much bigger figure. We can do a quick little comparison of it next to Iguanodon for sure. So yeah, but packaging, same as the others. Got that Dominion artwork. The back has the render showing the total neck attack that we'll demonstrate when we get the toy out, as well as some chomping. It looks like it's going to do some chomping too. And then other figures in this assortment. It has Xenoceratops, which I think this is wave 2. Wave 3 is coming out with another Massive Action figure. So this is the only figure for this wave for Massive Action is Ampelosaurus. So. Oh, it's going to pop right out. See, that's not weird that the feet, so the Iguanodon feet were locked in, right? You couldn't get it out without opening the bottom of the box. You have this much bigger, more expensive figure, and all you got to do is snip a couple pieces of plastic, and out it comes. Kind of interesting. But there's Ampelosaurus. Before I forget, the DNA scan tag is hidden very well on the side of it right here, next to these horns. Pops right up. It even has a little piece of a horn on top of it, so when you push it in, it blends in pretty well. I mean, it's definitely sticks out a little more than some of them, but it blends in well enough, right? But yeah, this is a huge figure. You can see just next to Iguanodon how much bigger, taller it is, how much more plastic is in it. It's just, oh yeah, there. Now you can really appreciate just how much bigger it is. It's just a big, chunky dinosaur figure. Obviously, at a higher price point, it's going to be no electronics in this one, but it does have some really nice action features with they call it the neck attack. So manipulating the neck, manipulating the tail, manipulates the neck. You have two joints in the neck, one here and one here, and they both kind of move independently. So front-wise, you can see it's looking side to side. You also have a button here on the tail that causes the mouth to open and close. So you can do some really cool, look, I mean, this reminds me of Primal Attack with kind of how natural it is. If you do it nice and slow, it actually looks almost like an animatronic. And then, of course, the mouth can open too. So you can have him, you know, reach up to the trees and bite a couple leaves and come down, or come down for a pet even. So really cool motion on this thing. I want to kind of see what this thing looks like next to a human-sized figure. So let me go ahead and grab my go-to comparison now, which is Alan Grant Hammond Collection. So you can see here it's big. It's not massive. It's not Brachiosaurus size, but you know, next to Alan Grant, it's still a pretty big dino. Just again, for comparison's sake, we'll throw a Iguanodon in here so you can see kind of the gradation of size for Ampelosaurus being so big. Ampelosaurus isn't one I've heard of, right? So I'm not super familiar with how this toy kind of, you know, against my expectations. I guess I don't know much about this one. Obviously, it's some sort of armored, long neck dinosaur. It's topped with all of these different horns, which look really cool. I love, again, like the big scales on the leg, but the scales go the horns go all the way down to the bottom of the tail. It's almost like an armored Apatosaurus or something like that. So on both sides of the body, all the way up through the head and the neck. I love the head detail on this one. There's a nice close-up. Looks very friendly, big chompy teeth. Definitely not as crisp in detail and realism as the Iguanodon. Again, I'm going to keep using the Iguanodon as comparison because it's such a cool figure. So this one definitely has a little bit more of that cartoony animated style that we see on some Mattel figures. All the same, it's still pretty cool just how big it is. And again, that natural range of motion is definitely what I like about it. It does have some decent articulation too. It looks like the legs obviously move back and forth, but they also move outward, which helps you do a couple different poses. Looks like the front legs do that too. They don't have any mid-joint articulation, which you wouldn't expect on Mattel's core lineup, but it would be cool if they added a mid-joint on some of these bigger figures, just so they could do a little bit more poses, especially when there's not a lot else they can do. That's cool to see. There's my up against the tree pose. So toy photographers, take note. That's kind of a nice pose you can do with this one. That would look pretty cool. So there he is, eating his tree. Ampelosaurus, big old sauropod. I guess I should compare it to our other similarly priced sauropod, which is Amargasaurus. If you remember this one from 2019, this was a huge surprise when we got it too. I believe this one just has a head that moves and then a tail that moves. But really nice paint on this one. I do have to take Mattel to task on here. We got paint all the way to the tip of the tail on the 2019 release. Obviously, on the 2022 release, the paint stops before the tail. We have painted nails on all 4 limbs. Looking really good. No paint on any of these nails. So again, I love collecting these toys and I'll keep doing it, but it's really disappointing to see Mattel kind of skimp more and more on paint and you know, quality and all that stuff. I mean, they sold us on this line back in 2018, and obviously we're all really into the toys, but they got to keep us engaged, and they can't cut so many corners, especially when the toys are actually more expensive than they used to be. I get it, manufacturing, inflation, all that stuff plays a part, but they need to find a way to do it and keep the detail that was here on the toys previously. Okay, sorry for my quick rant against paint, but I mean, it does bother me, and I'm sure it bothers a lot of you out there. But you can see just how similarly sized these two, you know, I think these are called sauropods, right? I hope I'm getting that right. Theropods are like T-Rex, and this is a sauropod, like a longer neck dinosaur. Again, feel free to correct me in the comments, but very similar in length, almost identical in length, similar in height. I mean, they're the same price point toy, so it makes sense that they're so similar in price. But I like how they look so similar just in general, too. I mean, they go together nicely, even though they're two totally different species, totally different colors. Yeah, that's Ampelosaurus, our biggest toy we're reviewing today. Let's go ahead and keep unboxing because we got more. We got Xenoceratops. Kind of Jurassic's answer to Triceratops. Seems like since they introduced Xenoceratops, we've seen... Oh, sorry, got one making noise off camera already. I do want to do a comparison with this figure with the rest of the three, but real quick, yeah, I was going to say that the Xenoceratops is kind of like Jurassic's main ceratopsian now. If you watch King Cretaceous, that's all you see. If you watch Dominion, that's all you see. I mean, Triceratops is there in the background, but they've kind of focused on Xenoceratops because it's sort of like an ownable dinosaur for them that they can, you know, kind of say like, this is a Jurassic dinosaur, unique to us, kind of like Dilophosaurus or something. So it's a real species, but one that didn't get a lot of love until, you know, Jurassic came around to give it that love. So Xenoceratops, the back shows the wave, shows how the roar feature works. Let's go ahead and break it out. What are we looking at here? We're looking at, looks like we're looking at clipped in feet and plastic ties. So we'll go ahead and pop these. Oh, I'm gonna have to mangle this box to do this. Looks like it's got two different clips on its feet down here. These little ties. All right, now it's free from that regard, but it's still got plastic ties on its back leg. Wow. They really keep these figures in. Okay, I think that is the body. Go ahead and break the tail out. Whoa, this tail is an interesting color. Have to get that out of the box and see. Look at that tail. Whoa, that's a bright color. It should just pop on here. There we go. Interesting. Very interesting paint application on this one. So this is Xenoceratops. Has that roar attack feature, of course. That's cool. So not a new figure. This is our third Xenoceratops figure, but definitely a really interesting paint application, right? Nothing really going on at all in the mid-body. There's literally like no paint from here to here. There's no paint. But on the head, you have all those paints, horns painted with dark glossy color, which makes them look nice. The beak is painted the same color. We also have the nice dark eye, which you know I'm a huge fan of on these figures, looking really, really nice. Then it has these splashes of orange on the eyes, on the frill. I think that looks fantastic. Really, really original idea, splashing that color on the crest like that. Makes it, you know, it's kind of what the crest would have been maybe. It's kind of a warning to other dinosaurs. So seeing that splash of orange is really cool. And then it comes back on the body. This is orange, right? Sometimes I'm colorblind, so I completely get it wrong. I apologize if it's not orange and it's green instead. I'm pretty sure it's orange. Could be green. Again, feel free to correct me in the comments, but it kind of blends into a solid colored tail, right? So that splash of color kind of comes back on the back. It's interesting to think about why a dinosaur would have its kind of these bright highlights on the tail and the head. Kind of makes you get creative with what that could be, which is kind of part of the fun with collecting these toys is getting creative, right? Scan tag, if you didn't see, it was right up here. Pops open. There it is. Hides really well on the spine back there. Articulation wise, we have the four legs that also, in addition to going back and forth, go out. The back legs do not go out. The back legs only go front and back, so they don't have that articulation. But you can do some really cool running poses with what we have here. So there it is running. And then the head, no articulation on the head on this one. It's all tied up in the action feature. But I did want to bring in the other thing. This thing won't shut up, huh? I did want to bring in the other Xenoceratops we had. We had which one was the first one? I think this was the first one right here. Or maybe this was the first one. Yeah, this was the first one. This one's my favorite. This was the first Xenoceratops we got. I always loved the dark eye with the little dot of iris. So that's one Xenoceratops. Then we got this one a little later, which is really just the same patterning and everything, just of this one, but just a different base color and different eye color. Other than that, it's kind of the same dinosaur. Then we have the new one over here, which I kind of love all three of these together, right? What a cool little like herd of different colored animals. I noticed that all three of them don't paint this horn right here. Isn't that kind of funny? No paint here, no paint on this one. This one barely has the horns painted at all. And then no paint on this one. So they just didn't bother painting that horn for whatever reason. I did see that this one has these two horns painted. And this one does not have these two horns painted. So little corners being cut all the time. This is the three Xenoceratopses though, and the new one over here looking really, really cool and adding a different coloration, right, to all these excellent looking dinosaurs. And Grant says, hey, look how small I am compared to this one. So Xenoceratops are our third roar striker. And this brings us to our final figure, and the one that I am most excited about, Megaraptor. This figure looks awesome. Just in the box, and seeing it early photos of it, I was already excited. Just such a cool, obviously a cool design, but Megaraptor's a dinosaur that I love anyway. So I'm excited to see a toy of it. Packaging, pretty standard of what we've already seen here. Different dinosaurs from the wave on the back, showing how the roar works, all that good stuff. But I can't wait any longer. Let's get this thing out. How was it put in? Probably got more of those. I had to guess more of those, feet clips. So let me get those out best I can. Okay, they're both out, but he, of course, still stuck in. There's a plastic tie in the back. Come on, really make you work for these things. All right, base figures out. Let's go ahead and get the tail out. Ooh, this is a fun looking tail. Lots of feathers on this tail. Look at this thing. Let's go ahead and reunite it with the figure. Oh, this thing is awesome. Yes, I love this. Megaraptor. Really, really cool. Trying to get him posed up high. I guess he's kind of inclined to pose lower. Looks like his legs click a little lower. Really, really cool. Oh man, this thing's awesome. I love the blending of color to the red to the gray. That's super fun and super unique. Obviously, lots of feathers on this one. It's got feathers on the top of its head, and you can see the detail on those feathers too. Feathers on the back, and then feathers on the tail too. I mean, look at this. I like this tail. It's kind of soft plastic too. Lots of different feathers. And then the skin itself has like this pebbly, almost like plucked feather effect, which I think is kind of appropriate considering the rest of it has plumage. So you can see all those fine little dots throughout the entire body. A little bit of feathering on the bottom of the arms. Big, giant front claw too. I don't know if that's unique to Megaraptor, but big claw on the toe. No big claw on the foot, right? Just has big, giant feet, but it has kind of like a sickle claw. Not unlike Therizinosaurus' 3 claws, but instead just one. Then it has that classic raptor face, which Mattel did an excellent job molding this. I love this thing. It looks terrifying. It looks like a Jurassic raptor, but just, obviously a different species of it. But they still kind of captured that classic Jurassic silhouette on this guy. And his action is like the others. He's got a cool roar too. And then articulation, his legs obviously move. You saw me playing with him earlier. So he can run. His arms move and articulate out and back and forth. So look, he's already like doing some cool bird attack, right? Look at that. Oh, that's so cool. The neck and jaw articulation is all tied up in the action features. So you're not going to be having independent control of that necessarily. Those legs are kind of loose though. It seems like they click in one spot, but even then they're a little bit loose. At least mine is. They don't click anywhere else. They move everywhere else, but they don't necessarily stay put. Yeah, I mean, I guess he's staying put pretty well actually. But they do kind of want to click back into that original position, which I think sits him really low to the ground myself. That's kind of a funny that the neutral position is so low to the ground. I prefer something a little more like up here. So, but that's personal preference, right? Not everyone's gonna feel that exact way. This is cool. The tail is, I love the feathers on the tail. That's like one of my favorite parts. I didn't realize that it had feathers on the tail. I think I actually had I had it posed sideways. It actually goes like this. I was kind of playing with it while we were doing the review. So technically it goes like this, very much like Pyroraptor, where the tails are kind of horizontal with the body, which that makes it look a little more streamlined. Probably why I didn't notice it before in other photos. But yeah, this is probably one of my favorite figures that I opened in this wave. Iguanodon though was pretty awesome. I'm pretty impressed with the detail and likeness to the movie there. But Megaraptor obviously isn't from the movie, so you're not gonna ever get a comparison there to compare it to. But it is a really cool addition to Mattel Jurassic for sure. I love the Jurassic Raptor like vibes it gives off without being a straight up Jurassic Raptor. So awesome Megaraptor. Really just an awesome wave. I mean, out of all four Roar Strikers, we got 3 new sculpts. Xenoceratops is the only repaint. Otherwise, Iguanodon, Lypluridon, Megaraptor were all brand new. And then, of course, Massive Action's Ampelosaurus is a brand new one, too. So, really nice set of Wave 2 dinosaurs here. Of course, we got Wave 3 dinosaurs for this assortment, too. That'll probably be out later in the fall. So many Mattel Jurassic toys coming that I have to figure out a way to add to my shelf. I always like to add new species, and right here alone we have 4 new species, so I gotta make room. But really cool toys all around. Lots of cool stuff, cool noises, like electronic sound effects, great details on them. Pretty pleased overall. Just want to see a little bit more of that painted nails, painted tails, all that good stuff. But that's really my only major critique here. Otherwise, awesome toys. But I think that's all I got to say about these guys. Again, I'm Tim with Collect Jurassic. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.